just a snapshot of some of the tech that we use. We don't necessarily use all of these platforms. We use some of them. Some of them we've just given you alternatives as well. And in no way is this list exclusive, in terms of some of the tech. We've obviously just focused on a few key areas, and I'll perhaps run through, some of them. Some would be well known and some might not be, but I think it would add value to your nonprofit organization as well by looking into some of these tools that are available out there. The great thing about some of these platforms is that many of them have free packages as well. And generally the free packages would suffice depending on obviously the size of your operations and your requirements. And even if a free package doesn't meet your requirements, you generally have some of the guys that would offer packages specific to nonprofit organizations as well, which then have added functionality and features along with discounted rates. So that's the advantage. More often than not, there's a month-to-month cost with a lot of these solutions. And even so, I mean, there's no long-term contracts and things like that. So, it becomes quite easy where, you go in and do a trial for maybe a month at no charge. And if you want to then sign up, you go for it, test it out within your organization. If it works, you stay on it. If not, you can move on to something else. So that's a great thing about, some of the solutions that are available to you. Just something to think about, and I always mention this, to those in the firm as well. And even when I'm meeting, people coming in for interviews and things like that. I know we go through a lot of CVs. We get applications coming in. Obviously, we, as a firm of chartered accountants, we take on article clerks every year as well. So, you're constantly looking at CVs. And the one thing that always stands out for me, and I'm not sure how is it with you guys, but I'm sure, you guys would agree on it, is that you'd probably see the same thing on CVs time and time and again. And that's advanced Excel skills, Microsoft PowerPoint, Word, and that sort of thing. I'm not sure how many of you would have seen some of these solutions on a CV. I can guarantee you that I've never seen many of this at all, probably maybe a 2 at most from here. So that's the advantage of obviously, going onto the cloud and embracing these different platforms, is that not only are you assisting your organization, but even as individuals, we start developing skills that we usually wouldn't have. We're all accustomed to Excel, Word, and all of those things. But beyond that, if we had to be taken out of our comfort zone, not many of us would be able to say, okay, we are quite familiar with these tools. We've got experience in it as well. So it definitely would assist you, in the long term as well, right? Just one other thing, we don't necessarily approve of all of these solutions that are currently available. It's not an endorsement in any way from us as a firm to say that, we've actually vetted these platforms. It's just to create awareness, to let you know what's out there for you. Having said that, we are Zero accredited. So that's our preferred, accounting solution. And that's the platform that we use for our accounting services that we offer to our clients as well. I just want to touch on a few of them. Obviously with Zero, we will go through in a bit more detail. But just on some of the other solutions that you could use as a nonprofit organization as well. So Simple Pay and PaySpace, they are 2 of the cloud-based payroll solutions that I'm aware of. We are about to transition over as well ourselves. So we're busy doing a bit of, obviously, a comparison study between the 2 of them to see, which solution works best for us between the 2, as opposed to relying primarily on, obviously, your desktop payroll solutions. We've got project management tools. We use Asana internally. I think it's fantastic. It's really changed the way I even work as an individual as well. An alternative to Asana is Trello. Basically it's a project management tool and a task manager, which again, it allows collaboration. So not only does it assist you as an individual, but just your teams as well. And then you've got certain CRM solutions, customer relationship management. I'm quite certain, I know with, there's probably certain solutions that are specific to donor management, which you could use as well. But it's worth looking at if, you're not on a donor management platform currently. HubSpot and Zoho are 2 of the solutions that you might want to consider in terms of, maintaining those relationships and keeping a track of when last you've obviously communicated to your donor, your communications to them and setting appointments in terms of, getting in touch with your donors and things like that as well. Marketing campaigns and all of it. It's fully integrated, even in terms of being able to send out emails directly from the system and things like that without you having to manually type out emails to donors and things. So, it works pretty well, allowing you to maintain those relationships, contact details, and as opposed to having an Excel database of your donors, for instance. You can move over to something like this. You then have access to it on your cell phone as well if you need to get a donor's contact number and need to make a call as well, right? Then I'm not sure how many of you might be familiar with something called Canva. It's actually a platform that already has a ton of marketing material available, which you can tailor according to your needs and your requirements, right from designing of logos to brochures to social media campaigns, whether it's for Facebook or LinkedIn, Instagram. All of those things are on there already. Again, with them, they've got free packages as well as a paid packages. You don't necessarily have to be a graphic designer to be able to use it. It's quite user-friendly as well. And I think as a non-profit organization, if you've got someone who has a flair for designing, you don't have to go and pay thousands of rands to get things designed. So it's a wonderful tool. There's something else which we obviously, as I said, this is not a comprehensive list which we've used as well. It's called Fiverr, Fiverr. It's an online marketplace of freelancers, and you get freelancers doing a host of things, right from marketing to data capturing to voiceovers as well. And you can go out there and you can basically literally choose expertise from anywhere in the world. You get some of these freelancers that actually even work for some of the biggest companies in the world as well, but also freelance, and offer their services to the general public globally. So that's something worth looking at as well. I'm sure many of you are familiar with MailChimp in terms of a mailing list and obviously sending out, automated emails and marketing campaigns and things like that to your donor base, perhaps. Again, something that's quite easy to use, as opposed to obviously having a manual mailing list as well. The interesting one, which we've started using recently, is a South African solution called Wamly, Wamly.io. That's the website. And for me personally, I thought this was fantastic as someone who generally, obviously, goes through, as I mentioned earlier on, a ton of CVs. And some of the time, the problem with CVs is that, especially when you're taking on, a first-year article clerk. Remember, these guys are generally fresh out of university or Technicon, and they don't necessarily have any work experience. So, how much can you really pick up from an individual CV who has no work experience? So the only way to actually get a feel for a person is to actually meet with them, obviously have an interview as well. The problem though is that when you have to work through a number of these, it can become quite time consuming to set up time and things like that, especially where, you're obviously working virtually like we have been recently as well. So what Wamly actually does is that it actually moves that entire process online. So essentially what you can do is you can set up for your candidates predefined questions like you would, in an actual interview. You can set a time limit, in terms of how long the potential employee has to answer those questions. A link gets shared to that individual, and during their own time, they can go in and do a video upload of them answering those questions. Once they're done with it, you're then able to actually review those answers again, at your convenience. The two of you or the three of you, whoever it is, within a firm or within an organization, don't necessarily have to all be sitting around the table at the same time. If you want to be doing it whilst having your lunch, go for it. You can then assess, and you don't necessarily have to go through each question that individual might have answered. You can jump between questions, and just maybe if you want to focus on a specific area, just to get a feel for that individual, you can go in and obviously just focus on that. It's up to you entirely. Thereafter, you can then decide whether you want to go ahead and obviously interview that candidate or even possibly even appoint them as well. So, it's obviously a fairly new solution, but I think it's gaining quite a bit of traction. Some of the big, large listed companies in South Africa are using the solution as well. And again, with them, they do have a free version available for you also on there.